We have fought really hard over the last 2 years for common sense gun violence prevention, to pass the Dream and Promise Act out of the House, to keep fidelity with our immigrant and refugee communities, to maintain oversight of the ICE detention center, and to help reduce the cost of health care and prescription drugs. So now it's time for the Senate to step up and join us in those efforts and pass the really important life-saving bills that we've been working really hard in the last few years on. I mean, this is an issue that continues to gain momentum and traction throughout the country. Over 90% of the people in the country want common sense solutions, want things like we've already done in Colorado, like universal background checks. Overwhelmingly, people want it. And, we're getting more and more support in the Congress every year. So I am hopeful that in the future we'll to get it done. But right now, Mitch McConnell and too many of the people in the Senate have stopped that progress. We need to make sure we're protecting people with pre-existing conditions, and so many of their important progress, areas of progress that have been made over the last decade. Let's not forget that before Obamacare was passed, people with pre-existing conditions weren't guaranteed coverage. If you had issues in your family or personally, you may not have been able to get health insurance, but now you do under the law. And it's added millions of people to the healthcare rolls. It made a difference in over 20 million Americans that now have healthcare or better healthcare as a result of it. We can't be going backwards. We have to continue to build on that progress and move forward. Passed the Dream and Promise Act. We passed the Dream and Promise Act in this Congress. That's immediate protection for our dreamers, for our TPS holders, for our DED holders. We have thousands of those folks in the 6th Congressional District. These are young Americans, young men and women who know nothing but this country. They're just as American as anybody else, only that they don't have the paperwork to prove it. We have to deliver aid to these young men and women so they can move forward with their life. It's one of the moral issues of our time, and it has to be one of our priorities. Support the Dream and Promise Act. Why does he support the president so much? He says he stands behind the president 100%, but this president has assaulted our immigrants, assaulted our refugee communities, threatened to end the DACA program and the securities for dreamers, threatened to revoke our health care and protections for pre-existing conditions. So many things that threaten the families and the hardworking people of our community. And why does he continue to support a president that is doing so much damage to our community and to so many families? Really made it a family venture. My kids understand that what I'm doing is really important work right now to help deliver and serve the community and country, serving it as an example to them. I've taken them to DC a couple of times before the pandemic so they could see what I do and be a part of the job. You really have to make sure that the family is a part of it, that they're bought in to the process. Otherwise, I'm gone half the time in Washington. And it's very different. I was always a very involved dad, and now I'm gone half the time. So it's important that they understand what I'm doing and they're a part of it. It's in DC. It's hard to beat Five Guys, which I know President Obama was a big fan of during his time in the White House. But there's also a small place called the Tune In, not too far off the Capitol on Pennsylvania Avenue. It's a little bit of a dive bar, so to speak, but I'm a dive bar type of guy. A very small, kind of independently owned place. So they have really good burgers and beer. Issue in the district. We have so many immigrants and refugees. So these are folks that understand that experience. They know what it's like to have to flee dangerous places, to want to come to this country to rebuild a life. Some of the conditions that people are fleeing to try to come to America, to build businesses, to pursue the American dream, and following U.S. law and trying to claim asylum. and we're treating them like prisoners, and in so many cases without basic human dignity and without basic rights. And that's not who we are as a community. We're a community that understands that experience of immigrants and refugees, that embraces folks that are trying to better themselves and trying to pursue the American dream. So I will always take it seriously, and I will always make sure that we're doing the oversight that's necessary to treat people with basic rights and basic human dignity.